everybody, welcome back to the Brotherhood of Gaming.com. I'm Eugene Morris. You know, you really have to hand it to WayForward Technologies. These guys have been around for over 20 years making video games.
While they have been primarily known for working on licensed titles, after all, these are the guys that made DuckTales Remastered, they've also created their own catalog of original IPs. Good example is the recent Mystic Bell that dropped in October and looks like a love letter to Super Nintendo games. Gonna have to check that one out too. Their style does not appeal to everyone, but they won me over with their charm and classic 2D Metroidvania action. Undoubtedly, their most famous IP is of course, Shantae. You can even call her the WayForward mascot character.
Now, she may not have the popularity of, say, a Lara Croft, or Samus Aran, or a Chun-Li, but she has managed to develop her own cult following. In fact, it's so strong that there was a real serious push to get her involved in Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. But in order to do that, we would have to replace a Fire Emblem character, and we can't have that now, can we?
First, a little bit of history. Shantae made her debut in 2002 for the Game Boy Color. Fun fact, her first game was published by Capcom of all companies. The game was praised by critics, but the problem was, it was only on the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advance had already been out for about a year, so because of this, the game fell into relative obscurity.
Gee, a video game being heard because it was released on an inferior console while a more advanced console had already been out. I wonder where I've heard that before.
By the way, don't bother getting this game on Amazon unless you have an obscene amount of money to spend. It is way less to get a Nintendo 3DS and buy Shantae off the eShop. Or in my case, a 2DS, because I'm a cheap bastard and I don't care about 3D. So now for the game itself. Shantae is the result of a union between a human man and a female genie. Yep, her dad hooked up with a genie. That is awesome. She lives in Scuttle Town, a small community on the corner of Sequin Land. Shantae is a hard-working young woman because she is the town's guardian, charged with protecting the place from possible invaders. She lives with her uncle Mimic, who happens to be a knowledgeable relic hunter. Her best friends are Sky, who trains and sells warbirds, and Bolo, who is well-meaning if somewhat thick-headed. Everything is well in Scuttle Town until they're invaded by Risky Boots, the buxom buccaneer and self-proclaimed Queen of the Seven Seas. She attacks with her crew of Tinkerbats, basically the Koopa Troopas of this world. Shantae manages to fight them off, however Risky still manages to steal a blueprint for a device called the Steam Engine. Mimic explains to Shantae that if this device is constructed and united with the 4 elemental stones, it would become a devastating weapon that Risky could use for world domination. Shantae sets off on a quest to retrieve the stones and put an end to Risky's plans. Shantae does manage to recover the 4 stones, but is then ambushed by Risky, who makes off with them. Shantae is able to discover her hideout, where she is waiting with her fully functioning Tinker Tank. The half-genie does battle against it and destroys Risky's weapon. Risky then goes one-on-one with Shantae, but the pirate goes down for the count, along with her hideout. As the place collapses, Shantae is rescued and taken to the Genie Realm, where the genies offer her a chance to stay there with her own kind. But not willing to leave her friends, she refuses and returns home to Scuttle Town. Overall, I find it to be a very fun story, powered by its colorful cast of characters. Now on to the gameplay.
Now, the gameplay of Shantae is a mixture of the Metroidvania style and platforming, which means a lot of traveling back and forth and collecting many, many items.
While traveling, things can get a little tricky thanks to the day-to-night transition, very similar to Castlevania II Simon's Quest. Shantae's main attack is her hair whip. Before Bayonetta used hair as a lethal weapon, Shantae did it first. However, there is not much length in her hair, and there is no real way to make it longer. So Shantae does have access to magic for more ranged attacks, such as fireballs. When she defeats an enemy, they will usually drop hearts for health, or gems that you can use at item shops in town. There you can buy helpful items like potions to restore health, defensive items for protection, and more advanced combat moves. However, the main gimmick of this game is her dancing. Through this, she can access her animal transformations. Every time Shantae finds a genie guardian trapped in a dungeon, apparently they're all bad at their jobs, Shantae will learn a new transformation, such as a monkey for climbing up walls, an elephant for charging through them, and a harpy for flying. You will have to use these powers to reach new places in the levels. The way it works is that you hit the select button and she enters dance mode. You then need to input the correct sequence to activate it. There are 5 towns for you to visit, and you must speak to characters in order to get access to local dungeons where most of the action in the game takes place. One such character is Roddy Tops, a teenage zombie girl who you'll have to beat in a race to get some more information. With her gyrating motions and mischievous personality, she is indeed quite the zombie waifu. In the town, you can save your game, speak to townspeople, engage in mini-games for more cash, visit item shops, and local bathhouses for health restoration. Along the way, you can also recover these lost baby squids. When you visit a town, you can return them to their mother. When all are recovered, you will learn a new dance that will instantly warp you back there. Now inside the dungeons, you will have to do a great deal of puzzle solving. But along with that, you will have to negotiate platforms and watch out for bottomless pits. You will need to collect keys to open doors and heart containers to increase your health. By far, the most impressive aspect to this game are the visuals. Now, backgrounds look pretty standard, but still colorful and bright. Whether day or not, the game is pleasing to the eye. However, the animations of the characters, especially Shantae, are really fantastic. It's to the point that you honestly forget that this was made for the Game Boy. Her dancing animations are really something to be commended, and it shows the talent of the game makers shining through. Now, it's not a perfect game, as there are some issues with it. For starters, the camera is a little too focused on Shantae, which unintentionally gives this game a slow pace. Now, you do have a run option, but if you use it too much, well, chances are you're going to be running into enemies. So you may find yourself walking from area to area. Another peculiar decision was to give the game a life counter. Typically, Metroidvania games don't have them, so it just seems a little unnecessary, other than to give another degree of difficulty to it.
Now, the music in this game is another highlight. Composed by Jake Kaufman, who is best known for his work on Shovel Knight, the music here is another example of the people really pushing the console to its limits.
You know, when I think about Shantae, I usually think about the great animations, colorful characters, and fun tunes. As far as gameplay goes, it is acceptable. But it is a backtracking collectathon, which is just something that will appeal to you or it won't. If you're more used to the linear style, this here will not appeal to your tastes. Overall, I found it to be an enjoyable experience. It was the first Shantae game that I played after seeing an advertisement for the series, and I do give it a thumbs up. Again, the best way to get this game is by download, emulation, or if you have a few $100 just lying around.
Well, there you have it, my thoughts on the very first Shantae, but we're just getting started with this hair-whipping adventure. So make sure to join me next time when we take a look at its first sequel. Until then, keep on gaming.